Hey guys, welcome back, and I just wanted to start off today's episode just by dropping in a quick note to say thank you so much for everyone's positive feedback and everything that I've gained from this. You guys are always so supportive. I don't get any negative sort of stuff from you guys. It's always useful points, great support and all that sort of stuff. And I just wanted to also say a massive thank you to everyone that sends in updates of their van conversions or pictures and everything. It really does make my day. And just the fact that some of you guys have honestly started your van conversions just because of learning what I've done in my channel, that is really heartwarming. So thank you so much. Hopefully we can start a small space revolution of our own. But enough of the mushy stuff, so let's crack on with the episode. Now for the next step, I'm going to be painting the new storage unit, and I'm going to paint it white. I got my inspiration from a channel called Josh's Happiness. Now if you haven't checked him out, you should definitely do so. He's also doing a van conversion, and he's a top bloke. His van conversion is looking amazing right now, and his attention to detail is just stunning. So definitely check it out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it white and sand it back and let the wood sort of show through in certain areas. Right, so it's the next day, the paint is dry, and now all I have to do is sand it down and get that sort of rustic stripped back look. I've been managing to get a lot of jobs done today, so what I'm going to actually get on and do is finally finish off the corkboard as well and fill in this area here. I can tell you one thing, cutting cork is not easy, but I've finally finished it. And it looks great. All I need to do now is start pinning stuff to the wall and filling up this space with cool souvenirs from my travels. A lot has changed behind the scenes, and I've also looked at increasing my storage for longer trips away. To get started, I'll show you the more visual stuff. So firstly, we've got my new spice rack, and what I did was I took the old pallet piece on top and I carved out these new pieces of wood and then took a rail across, and now I've got a great space to put spices, oils, anything extra that I can use for cooking. Secondly, more obviously, I've got a new storage rack that I've made, and I painted it white and given it a sort of a shabby chic look. I now have 3 storage compartments, one at the bottom, one in the middle for bigger bags, and then even in the top for cans, food and other sort of stuff. And I've even got 2 shelves here and here, so I can keep my heater and dehumidifier, but also charge stuff on the go while up here. All I need to do next is add a little lip here so stuff doesn't slide off while I'm driving around. One of the cooler new features is the new kitchen layout. So underneath here I've got all the usual standards, but this now slides out so I can easily access the cool box when I need to, so I don't have to reach all the way round to the back. All I've done to achieve that is cut out a piece of wood to go on top of the old frame and add some sliders underneath, you can see there. They're heavy duty ones of course, but it does the trick, and it's a really useful way to utilise the space we've got there. Now to show off this next part, I've removed the wood backing bit that I had covering this area. I've had a complete overhaul of the electronic system and simplified everything, and I've completely removed the whole part of the system that is related to the 3-pin plug that you can plug in at campsites to get extra electricity. I really didn't see a use for it for me personally. Some people might, that's great, but I didn't need it and it was just taking up space. And by taking it out, I got rid of so much bulk electronic stuff, like big thick cables, big like fuse boxes and everything like that. And now I'll show you underneath the seats about how much nicer and neater my whole electronic system looks. So under chair number 1, we have the battery. I've turned it to 90 degrees that way, and I'll show you why, because now that I've got rid of a load of electronics, under chair number 2, we have everything very neatly bolted down and tied away, and that's all that I need now. So I've now got the DC to DC charger that I've got for this van, because obviously it's smart alternator. I've got my solar charger telling me all the details I need about the power supply from the solar panel, and I've now got my inverter and that's it, and my fuse box, and that's all I need. Now I don't need the big bulky fuse box that goes to a plug that then goes to a charger that then goes to the battery, because that's all related to the 3-pin plug so that your battery gets charged while you're at a campsite. Now, I've had a lot of questions about the DC to DC charger. This is only required if your van has a smart alternator. And unfortunately, because my van does, it's actually a really expensive piece of kit that you need. It's 200 quid just for that. I mean, it is pretty hefty. But what that does is that now connects my van battery to my leisure battery and keeps it topped up while I'm driving. And I've wired it so that it only turns on once I turn the ignition, and I'll show you how I've done that. Now, down there we've got the relay and the earthing point for the DC to DC charger. Now, this small cable that's meant to turn the charger on with ignition, I'll show you, but that goes around the side here. The other point while I'm here to bring up is that a lot of people have said that it's a bad idea to earth the battery and this all to the sort of chassis of the frame, or like this part. I've also been told that this is okay to do, so I'm still sort of 50-50 on whether this is a good idea or not. So that little red cable is now running just below the seat here, and then what I've done is I've followed around the edge of the trim, and it's just underneath here, and it follows around, and you can see it pops through there, and I've taken it up along there, behind there, and it now goes to this little fuse box behind here. But now you can see that this cable comes, and what I've done is I've linked it, sorry, I'll let the camera focus here, I've linked it to that 7.5 amp fuse. I've used a voltage meter and everything to check which side is the negative side and which side is the positive side, and I've attached it to the negative side. So once I turn the ignition, the electricity then runs through that fuse, and it just sends a little bit buzz to the charger and everything, and that turns it on with the ignition. Now guys, let's talk about swivel seats. I know I had a little stab at it before, and there was an episode where I sort of had a go at doing it. I'm really sorry that that sort of dropped off and didn't really go anywhere, but I've been looking at loads of different options in the background. The issue for me is that I'm 6'2". I noticed that once I'd add the swivel seat mounts, it added so much height that my head was touching the roof, and that's not going to be cool if you're doing a long journey and you are at my height, if not taller. This made me abandon my lovely expensive swivel seat mount. I've still got it at home and I'm going to try and repurpose it, but I've also come to realise that trying to do it with all the electronics underneath the seat is going to be a real big issue as well. So where does that leave us? I think what I'm going to have to do is look at getting a custom seat made up, or a custom frame, bottom frame, and then put a seat on top, and look at having a backrest that either lifts up and out and goes and packs away somewhere, or even flips over and rotates the other side. For me, unfortunately, this is going to be one of the only options that I can see for the moment. I'm limited by what's out there on the market and what I can do myself.